Good morning. Can we request everybody to settle down so we can start the auto dialogue? Thank you. So I hope everybody's settled and enjoying the cool air inside the room. So let me formally open the 22nd Automotive Dialogue, and let me welcome you with this message. Undersecretary Ferdinand Cui, Vice Chair of the 2015 APEC Senior Officials Meeting, Assistant Secretary Seferino Rodolfo of the Philippine Department Trade and Industry, my Vice Chair, Mr. Vicente Mills of the Philippine Automotive Federation, Mr. Alexis Sapetco, our Dialogues Program Director, our APEC Automotive Dialogue delegates, friends, and other colleagues in government. A wonderful morning to all. Today, April 22, is the start of our 22nd APEC Automotive Dialogue. Incidentally, 10 years ago, or to be exact, April 22, 2005, was also when we last hosted the Automotive Dialogue here in the Philippines, the 7th APEC AD, at the New World Manila Bay Hotel. And so we want to say mabuhay to the APEC Auto Dialogue's return to Manila after a decade. Welcome to the Philippines, today's 39th largest economy and largest manufacturing base in the world. On a more global note, we are celebrating today the 45th anniversary of the Earth Day. It was also on April 22 in 1970 that the world first celebrated Earth Day, marking international support for environmental protection towards a more sustainable global development. It is thus opportune that we should start work during this dialogue to complete the electric vehicles roadmap within this year as instructed by the Committee on Trade and Industry. We could build this work spearheaded by China as she brought focus on the new energy vehicles with the theme Green Ambition, Win-Win Solution in 2014. This year's theme, integrating SMEs into the automotive global value chains, is meant to complement the 2013 and 2014 AD initiatives and underscores SMEs' vital role in the automotive manufacturing industries, particularly to its emerging subsector, the new energy vehicles, which is looked at to be the future of the automotive industry. Likewise, it will build up on existing APEC initiatives that foster and encourage SME participation in regional and global trade, one of which is facilitating SME participation in global value chains. As many of you will recall, in 2013, the APEC leaders agreed to take further steps to enhance SMEs' global competitiveness by improving access to finance and markets, supporting entrepreneurship, accelerating the growth of startups, strengthening capacities for business continuity, and empowering SMEs to expand into international markets and participate in global supply chains. And in 2014, APEC leaders approved the APEC Strategic Blueprint for promoting global value chains development and cooperation, and APEC ministers welcomed the capacity building for SMEs integration into GVCs in major industries, including automotive. As it was recognized then that SMEs have often been left out of the formation of GVCs as the fragmentation of production processes and cross-border trade take place mostly within networks of transnational corporations. Within the APEC Automotive Dialogue, SME development has been recognized as an important aspect of its work. We note that in the 17th AD in Russia, Indonesia then introduced its Auto SME Sector Development Program, and in the 18th AD, she proposed for an additional EBS portal as a trade facilitation tool for small and medium industry and micro-industry in APEC. We believe that to empower SMEs to participate in the GVCs, easy access to relevant information and good networks are necessary. As you may have noticed already as you enter this room, we have actually set up a pop-up car exhibit in the foyer. The exhibit is meant to highlight the SME's unique and supporting role in the assembly of an automobile, from the bolts and nuts to the precision parts, engines, transmissions, and auto electronics. We hope that this simple pop-up car display would show the auto parts SME's dynamic contribution to the progressive innovation of the automotive manufacturing sector and encourage us here in the AD to advance work towards equipping SMEs to cope up with the tough challenges that regionalization or globalization brings forth. The Philippines, as this year's host, would like to level up the discussions on SME integration into the automotive GVCs. And so we have organized also a whole-day workshop tomorrow entitled Linking Automotive Parts Supplier SMEs into the Global Value Chains, with the aim of having a knowledge-sharing session among APEC developed and developing economies on their own experiences on automotive regional production networks. The workshop is also meant to be a capacity-building exercise for the AD members for economies to learn from each other and identify the best practices. We hope that the AD delegates would actively participate and make the most out of this gathering. As to the business arrangements for today and Friday, we will be meeting here in the Mayuri Grand Room, or Grand Ballroom. The mess located at the mezzanine is our common delegation room. And if your delegation would like to arrange bilateral meetings with another economy, we made available 2 bilateral meeting rooms, the Mahogany and Nara at the mezzanine from the 21st to the 25th of April. Once again, welcome to all the APEC delegates. We hope you enjoy your week-long stay here in Makati, a 22-kilometer squared city at the heart of Metro Manila, home to the Philippines' towering skyscrapers, parks, museums, and lots of shopping centers. If you want a historical touch, the city of Manila is just nearby. It has Intramuros, the famous walled city, that is a cultural heritage from the Spanish era until the late 19th century, housing antique cathedrals, churches, and architectures, and the monument of our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, in the Rizal Park. In the course of your stay here, we hope to entice you to enjoy the sights and sounds of the city, as well as sample the cuisine and crafts that our establishments offer. For any details on recommended tourist destinations, please do not hesitate to approach any of our officers in the hotel. Again, thank you, and a pleasant day to all. And of course, to keynote this of our auto dialogue, may I call on our Assistant Secretary, Seferino S. Rodolfo of the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry. Is actually our Trade Policy Assistant Secretary in charge of APEC. Assistant Secretary.
Thank you, Cory. Undersecretary Ferdinand Cui, Vice Chair of the 2015 APEC Senior Officials Meeting. Executive Director Cory Dichosa Halili, Chair of the 22nd APEC Automotive Dialogue. Vice Chair Mr. Vicente Mills. Mr. Alexei Sapetko, Program Director of the APEC Secretariat. Government officials and automotive industries from the individual economies of APEC, our guests from the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, industry representatives from the APEC region, pleasant morning to you all and welcome to an exceptional one-week stay here in the Philippines. Let me start this dialogue with a closing, actually the closing intervention of our Trade and Industry Secretary, Gregory Domingo, during the APEC ministerial meeting last November 8, 2014 in Beijing. As he introduced what the Philippines' priorities will be this year, he said, "We cannot overstate the importance of support for further global trade liberalization. SMEs are the most vocal in opposing trade because they cannot feel the positive effects yet of FTAs, owing to the rules and processes that are too cumbersome for small businesses. SMEs must feel they can benefit from FTAs. Thus, it is incumbent for us in APEC to provide a platform for SMEs to benefit more from FTAs. Mainstreaming SMEs into global and regional production networks is thus one of the 4 priorities of the Philippines as host of APEC Year 2015. Recognize that integrating SMEs into regional trade will significantly contribute to making growth more inclusive. It is in this context that the Philippine Board of Investments, as the host agency of this dialogue, has adopted the theme, Integrating SMEs into the Automotive Global Value Chains. The APEC Automotive Dialogue is the working group platform for industry and government to share current information and trends towards the development of one of the most vibrant sectors in the Asia-Pacific region, the automotive industry. This dialogue was established to serve as a forum for discussing a broad range of issues affecting automotive trade, such as trade facilitation, non-tariff measures, standards harmonization, and economic and technical cooperation, with the ultimate goal of encouraging economies to move towards more integrated regional and global approaches to automotive policies. For me personally, actually, the automotive industry represents a big paradox in globalization. Yes, it is one of the most global industries in terms of brands and markets, technology diffusion, production sourcing, and localization of facilities. And yet, it is one of the most protected sectors in many ways. And in terms of globalization of standards, it will probably serve as a testament for years into the future to the implications of a failure to coordinate country standards. Of course, I'm referring to having right-hand and left-hand driven vehicles. The Asia-Pacific region is also a dynamic environment for automotive manufacturing, particularly for developing economies. In 2013, of the approximately 85 million motor vehicles which were produced globally, APEC developing economies accounted for 35% of these. Likewise, the industry has been an ever-evolving throughout history. It is one of the key sectors that constantly innovate on product design and production processes for optimal efficiency to meet the fast-changing and diverse needs of the global markets. And because of the automotive industry's need to innovate, it has allowed itself to creatively think of ways to optimize production efficiency through regional networks and global value chains, or what we now call as the GVCs. What makes globalization a good driver of cooperation is that it allows many economies, particularly those still on their track towards industrialization, to be key players in automotive manufacturing by participating in production activities along GVCs, such as in automotive parts and components manufacturing and whole vehicle assembly. The global trade in auto parts is valued at about US $1.5 trillion. But an economy's participation in GVCs does not readily translate to inclusive growth. We need to deliberately foster SME participation in automotive GVCs. Globalized competition and barriers to trade have a disproportionate impact on SMEs and on larger enterprises. Fostering SME development for inclusive growth, we also realize that broad-based SME network is critical in providing support and complementation to larger enterprises. It can be a source of flexibility, nimbleness, and quick reaction to emerging trends. In short, SME development is key not only for inclusive growth, but equally important for sustaining competitive advantage. As a global industry, the automotive sector knows this more than anyone else. I actually started my professional career as an industrial economist more than 2 decades ago by studying the automotive. And I remain convinced that because of its backward and forward linkages, because of its implications on technology, capacity, capability, it really has a huge impact on a country's industrial development. I note that in this dialogue, there are specific tangible opportunities for us to cooperate in developing SMEs in our automotive sector. These include, as the Chair has mentioned, developing an actionable agenda on empowering SMEs to penetrate the supply chains, factory networks of automotive brand principals around the region. For instance, this can be done through the SAS project or the GVC SME for the automotive sector that will be proposed by the Philippines and Malaysia today. This proposal is under Korea's umbrella project of capacity building for SMEs integration in global value chains in major industries as proposed last year in the CTI. The GSAS project hopes to illustrate GVC mapping in the region, best practices in GVC integration, and identify non-tariff barriers on trade and investment that SMEs face in their integration into GVCs, and then develop practical solutions to these barriers. There are also initiatives which are not exclusively for SMEs, but are nevertheless important to ensure SME participation as they involve the development of new products and of coordinating standards. These include your discussions in this dialogue on a template for the e-vehicle roadmap. The Philippines recognizes the growing importance for both government and industry to partner together to encourage the manufacture and use of new energy vehicles to contribute to an environmentally sustainable industrial growth, as what China has emphasized in automotive dialogue. Allow us to add that at the heart of promoting new energy vehicles is the building up and development of the SME sector that supports this emerging industry's value chain. Along this line, your sharing of experiences and approaches in developing standards and market regulation framework, building on the U.S. workshop held yesterday, is very important. We further hope that this dialogue will enhance linkages between brand principals and SME parts and components makers. So please take advantage of our sessions today, our workshops tomorrow, as well as the networking cocktails to ensure that not only do we gain more information about trends in the industry, but that we likewise get to know the specific personalities and our partners in this globalized sector. Allow me to end then where I began. The automotive dialogue represents the Philippines' contribution towards ensuring SME integration in regional trade. Let us shift our discussions from let us promote regional integration, and by the way, we should have interventions that facilitate SME participation, to one that is let us promote regional integration to SME participation. With SMEs accounting for 97% of firms in APEC, an integrated region necessarily requires SME participation. And as one of the primary drivers of APEC economies, the automotive industry has a great contribution to SME development, and through this, to making trade and growth more inclusive in the Asia-Pacific region. Once again, have a pleasant day and welcome to Makati City.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Seferino Rodolfo. Now, when we call on Undersecretary for our SOM Vice Chair to speak on the host economic priorities of 2015.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations to you and your team and to all the participants for being able to organize this very important dialogue as eloquently articulated by Assistant Secretary Pere Rodolfo. This is a critical undertaking, and this is very much linked and aligned with our APEC 2015 theme and priorities. So allow me to explain, ladies and gentlemen, but before that, we would like to welcome you to the Philippines, our dear friends from the Asia-Pacific community, as well as the movers and the shakers of the automotive industry of the Asia-Pacific region. So, welcome to the Philippines and specifically to Makati City. Now, allow me to explain our theme and priorities. My presentation is divided into 4 parts as follows. And before we proceed, let me do a recap of what our leaders said way back in 1996, 19 years ago. First hosted APEC in Subic. And I quote, "We came to Subic to reaffirm that the ultimate objective of our individual and collective endeavors is to enrich the lives and to improve the standards of living of all our citizens on a substantial basis." So that was what our leaders visualized and articulated 19 years ago. This year's theme is clearly aligned with that vision. As you know, and you must have seen this in the airport on the way to this venue, our theme is building inclusive economies, building a better world. By inclusive growth, we specifically mean to say 2 things. There are 2 parts, 2 sides of the same coin. That everyone benefits and that everybody contributes. The first dimension is what is almost always emphatically underscored, that everyone benefits. But what is seemingly always ignored is that there's an equally important dimension, second dimension, which is that everybody contributes. And that the passive sectors or players of society are actually transformed into becoming active players of the growth and development process. And this is where this particular dialogue comes in, ensuring or helping ensure that everybody does not just benefit but also contributes to the growth and development process. Now, this framework slide presents inclusive growth as the of this year's hosting, and we have the 4 priorities that are synergistically interlinked, mutually reinforcing, and feed into the core theme of inclusive growth for the Asia-Pacific community. So our 4 priorities are enhancing the REI agenda, fostering the participation of small and medium enterprises in regional and global markets, and by SMEs, we particularly refer to the 2 types of SMEs. The players in the global value chains, as well as those that are at the artisanal and cottage level. The third is investing in human capital development. And the 4th, building sustainable and resilient communities. All 4, as I've said, are mutually reinforcing and are interlinked, and they all feed into the core theme of inclusive growth for the Asia-Pacific community. On the first, enhancing the REI agenda, we view regional economic integration through the lenses of connectivity. And we particularly focus on trade and services and the ease of doing business. The further streamlining of our business as anchored on structural reform, financial inclusion, and good governance, among others. On the second, this has been, again, very well explained by ASEC Rodolfo here and the chair, fostering the participation of SMEs in regional and global markets. Why focus on SMEs? Well, we would like to cite the following reasons among others. They generate employment, they serve as sources of innovation and new technologies, they catalyze inclusive growth, and they enhance social integration. This diagram shows the SMEs on the leftmost side and the need to link them up with their ultimate markets on the right-hand side. But before we can do that, there are a lot of barriers to entry that we need to address. So among others, we're looking at trade facilitation, which is very, very important, greater access to finance, technology, and capacity building programs, among others. Linking up the artisanal and cottage level industries with their respective markets, another set of special interventions. Next, please. On the third, investing in human capital development. We aim for competitiveness and sustained growth. And to be able to do this, we need a skilled and highly adaptable APEC workforce, or quality human resources. And this is going to be complemented by the work of the Health Working Group, which envisions a healthy Asia-Pacific 2020. Now, we have 5 components when it comes to human capital development as follows: cross-border education, science and technology education and innovation, 21st century skills training to include jobs of the future and green skills. And of course, we have health and matching with industry needs to ensure, or to help ensure, that what the academe and the various training centers produce all throughout the Asia-Pacific region are actually what's needed by our industries. So that matching is critical. All 5 combined will result in human capital development. On the last but not the least, building sustainable and resilient communities. We all know that this is a new reality, and we know that as the Asia-Pacific becomes increasingly integrated, i.e., there is an interlinked supply and demand of goods and services, there is also an increasing impact and frequency of natural disasters and health pandemics. You combine the two, this results in increased vulnerability of our production and supply chains across Asia-Pacific borders, and therefore challenges to food security, among others. So there's a greater urgency for regional mechanisms to build resilient infrastructure, promote risk reduction and management, build SMEs' resilience to disaster, and foster business continuity. Just a note on this portion, ladies and gentlemen, based on our own experience in dealing with the aftermath of Super Typhoon Haiyan, or Yolanda as it's called locally. One of our foremost learnings is that in order to hasten the restoration of normalcy and to help ensure that we build forward better and to help the devastated communities get back up and move forward faster, one thing needs to be ensured, and that is business continuity. Because then, that would result in a lot of things. If you make people, if you give them livelihood right away, they will stop depending on subsidies, dole-outs, and it will keep them busy. Because remember that in any post-disaster scenario, people have just lost almost everything: homes, some of their loved ones, livelihood, and the situation seemingly hopeless. So that one critical element that will help restore normalcy is business continuity, and we therefore need resilience among our SMEs. Now, just to recap this all-important phrase from the 1996 leaders' statement, to improve the standards of living of all our citizens on a substantial basis. We believe that this is the raison d'etre, or the rationale for the existence of APEC. The goals that we have set forth as a community should be aligned with this vision, and they should all lead to the realization of this specific vision. the improvement of the standards of living of all our citizens on a substantial basis. And having said that, question is, how do we help contribute towards that lofty vision? The answer is actually very simple, because it is within the powers of everyone in this function room to help contribute towards the realization of that vision by way of coming up or helping come up with outcomes-oriented APEC 2015 Leaders Declaration. So how do we help move forward to that specific goal? It's very simple. We can come up with a set of clear, relevant, and measurable APEC 2015 initiatives. And at this point, allow us, ladies and gentlemen, to just do a recap. Some of you might already be fully knowledgeable on this. These are the elements of an outcomes-oriented APEC initiative. And there are three: relevance, measurability, and the baseline and milestone. When we say relevant, initiatives should lead to tangible results that are truly beneficial to Asia-Pacific communities and will lead to the upliftment of their standards of living. By measurability, we refer to three indicators of quantity, quality, and timeliness, or the QQT indicators. And to complete the cast of characters, ladies and gentlemen, may we remind everyone that we always need a baseline, or a point A, and the milestone, or the point B, leading towards the ultimate goal, or the point C. So points A, B, and C. Let's take a look at a few examples, actually just two, of outcomes-oriented APEC initiatives. The first is 10% improvement in APEC supply chain performance by 2015 in terms of time, cost, and uncertainty, using 2009 as a base. Juxtaposing this particular example with the three elements of an outcomes-oriented APEC initiative, you will see that this actually satisfies almost all three. If we were to further improve on this already good APEC initiative, we might want to add the situation obtaining at the time this initiative was introduced, meaning the point A, or the baseline, and then the point B, or the annual milestones leading to the point C, which is the destination, as expressed in this outcomes-oriented initiative. So the point C is the 10% improvement in APEC supply chain performance by 2015. So what's missing is are the points A and B. On the second example, aspirational goal of a 25% improvement on ease of doing business by 2015, taking 2009 as a base in 5 priority areas: starting a business, getting trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and dealing in permits. This satisfies the first two, but again, if we were to further improve on this already highly satisfactory outcomes-oriented APEC initiative, we might want to add, again, the baseline, or the point A, and the annual milestones leading to the 25% improvement in the ease of doing business by 2015, or the point B. So, as always, based on the trend, what seems to be missing in the APEC initiative is A and B. The situation obtaining or prevailing at the time the initiative was introduced, so that you would know what improvements you've made a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years after, and the annual milestones leading to the ultimate goal. If it's a 10-year goal, what's your second year milestone, third year, fifth year, eighth year, leading to the 10th year goal? So those are just some gentle reminders, ladies and gentlemen. We're sure that most, if not all of you, are already knowledgeable on this. We just wanted to do a recap. And so, on a lighter note, for those who are going to join us in SOM 2 in Boracay, as well as the SOM 3 and the other meetings, and consonant with the Health Working Group's vision of a healthy Asia-Pacific 2020, may we suggest that we might want to get lean for SOM 2 in Boracay. and keep fit for Som 3 in Cebu. So on that note, we wish you all the best on your very important undertaking, and warmly welcome you once again to the Philippines. All the best and thank you.
Undersecretary Cui, our SOM Vice Chair. Now that we have set the tone and heard the 2015 economic priorities, we take note of the challenge ahead of us to come up with relevant outcomes that will ensure that benefits are felt by our SMEs, which actually constitutes 97% of our APEC firms. Now, before we start on the main auto agenda, may I request everybody for a family photo in the poolside. We will be guided by our ushers towards the area. Again, thank you, Undersecretary Cui and Assistant Secretary Perry. Yes,